everyone, my name is Lauren, and today I'm going to be answering the question, is my child seeing spirits? Now, if you're watching this, you probably Googled, is my child seeing spirits? I think that this is a question that I get so often, and it also is applicable to animals and pets. I also get asked, is my pet seeing spirits or something in my home? And the short answer is maybe. So I highly encourage you to listen to my video about what the psychic ability is and what it isn't. I think it gives a good foundation of what I believe and that everybody is psychic. So if you've watched that video, you know that everybody is psychic. So kids are no exception to this rule. And I think what happens is we are definitely more psychic. We are more intuitive when we are children. And that is because we are encouraged to play. That is because we haven't had the weight of the world thrust upon our shoulders yet. And we just haven't had a lot of experiences to break away at that innocent nature yet. And so that is the perfect breeding ground for intuitive and psychic ability. And the majority of us get it sort of suppressed out of us, not necessarily intentionally or in a negative way. One of the most common examples of this is when you have a bad dream and your parents tell you that it's not real. Or you watch a scary movie and your parents tell you that it's not real. And so those subtle messages tell us that the psychic ability, that world is not real, it doesn't exist. And so that's why the majority of people aren't in tune with their psychic ability. Again, children, pets, totally different. Kids definitely have more of that psychic ability. And because of that, they are more likely to see spirits. And I don't want to say see as in that's a hard rule. Sometimes they just sense them, sometimes they feel them. More about that if you watch my Claire video. But I think because they haven't had that ability completely suppressed, yes, they're probably picking up something in your home. Now, the bigger question I think to be asking is, are they seeing spirits or is it an imaginary friend? I like to think of imaginary friends as being a more left brain logical thing that you come up with, whereas talking to a spirit or talking to a guide is more of that right brain psychic ability that they're tapping into. So I think imaginary friends are not a problem, and neither are spirits or guides. I think it's not a bad thing if they're talking to them. The issue with children more lies in it's very hard to teach them the concepts of psychic abilities and boundaries and ethics. A lot of the basis of what I teach is just a lot harder to explain this to kids. And so I think here, as a parent, it's more your choice of whether you want to help them through this or whether you want them to stop having these experiences altogether. If you want them to stop having these experiences altogether, you can teach them about boundaries, you can teach them about how to say no to spirits, how to set the intention that nothing can harm them, that nothing can be in their space. But if you're not afraid of encouraging communication between them and their guides, I still think you should be teaching them about boundaries and ethics because it's so important that if you do any of this, that you're very safe about it. So what you can do about it. Of course, my camera decided to die, so sorry for the jolt here, but I still wanted to record this for you guys and get it up to you today, so I'm just filming the rest of this in my studio really quick. Whatever. So one of the things you can do is set the boundaries in your home. Now, I did a whole entire video about this, so I'm not going to go over it again, but check out that video. It basically gives you a ton of exercises for clearing and cleansing your home. Another thing you can do is you can teach your child the affirmation, for my highest and best good. And so whenever they're feeling scared or whenever they feel like a spirit is around, you can tell them that they can say out loud or even in their head that the only things in their room that are allowed there are for their highest and best good. And that might be a little bit hard to teach kids, so you can sort of change the wording and say, only bright energy can be in this room. And as long as they understand the intention behind it, that they are safe and that saying that out loud will keep them safe and that they believe in it, that can be a simple tool that they can use even if you aren't around.
The biggest thing that you can do is just help them manage their boundaries. Now, my whole entire video course on Udemy goes over how to set your boundaries for psychic work. This still applies to any sort of spirit work in general. And the reason why I give that foundation is because I don't want you jumping into any sort of psychic stuff not having understood how to set your boundaries. So you can sort of understand the boundaries yourself and then teach your kids how to do them themselves. For a link to that part 1 of my video course, check the description down below. And the last thing you can teach your kids is not to engage with negative energy. So you can tell them that anytime they feel scared or anytime they feel like there's something in the room, to not engage with it. Don't talk to it, don't interact with it. Come find mom and dad, whatever it may be, say your affirmations, but it's so important that they do not engage with that energy. I found that some parents that are into this type of work, they really want their kids to understand and be in this realm with them, but it's so important not to encourage your kids to do that if they do not have a good grasp on boundary setting. And so encouraging them to interact with it, without you being around and without you knowing if it's truly a negative spirit or a positive one, the difference between a guide and a spirit can be so different. And so I think it's important not to encourage them to interact with it if they feel any sort of negativity around it. Personally, with my kids, I'm probably not going to even teach them how to interact with spirits or spirit guides until I know that they have a good awareness of determining between a good energy and a bad energy. So I hope you found those tips helpful. Sorry for the weirdness of the last half of this video, you guys, but let me know in the comments below if you have any questions about this or your kid or anything that you're struggling with. I get a lot of my video ideas through questions that you guys asked me, and this was one of them that came up during a reading. So I'm sure that a lot of you might also have this issue. So just know with your kids that as long as you're modeling and teaching them how to handle this, you're teaching them positive things and you're not making it into a big scary thing, they're gonna follow your lead. And at the end of the day, you're gonna trust your gut, they're gonna trust their gut, and that's the best way to handle any sort of issues with children and spirits. So thanks so much for watching, you guys. I will see you next time.